Hi everyone, hope all of you are doing super well, and in this video we'll be looking at how to analyze the current state. So in the previous video we had looked at what strategy analysis is and what are the four knowledge areas in strategy analysis. So the very first knowledge area is analyzing the current state, which we will be looking at now. The information is taken from the BABOK guide, and without any delay let's get into it. So what is the purpose to analyze the current state? So the main purpose is to understand the reasons why an enterprise needs to change some aspects of it. So only when you know what is happening currently, what is the as is state, and you would know that there is something lacking. So in order to understand and identify those reasons why the enterprise needs that change, it's very important to analyze the current state, as well as you just don't want to analyze what exactly was causing the need for that enterprise change, but you would also want to check out, if at all there is going to be a change, who would be directly or indirectly affected by the change, and the scope of the current state. So we need to analyze the current state, and there would obviously be a scope. So the scope generally describes the important existing characteristics of the environment. So a business would have an internal as well as an external environment. So this scope generally it describes the existing characteristics of the environment as well as the boundaries of that current state scope. It's determined by the components of the enterprise as well as its environment, and it sees how that they relate to the need. So generally whenever there is a need in place, the components of an enterprise as well as its environment will generally relate to the need. So we need to even identify these factors. So always keep in mind the current state that we identify, it would not be static. There are possibilities for that to change based on some external or internal factors. It could be based on internal or external influencers, as well as if there are any other organization changes happening, then possibly there could be some impact in the current state. So the current state would keep evolving and it would keep changing, may not be constantly, but you can never be sure that it would be static all the time. So you need to watch out for all these other factors that might influence the change. So if you see the BABOK guide, they have a flow and they've given to analyze the current state. There are two things that you need to take as part of the input. The one is one thing that you have to see is what is the business need, and the second one is you need to check out all your elicitation results which have been confirmed. So these elicitation results are nothing but information that you have gathered by different elicitation techniques, and that information you would use in order to analyze the current state. So there are a couple of guidelines and tools that can be used in order to analyze a current state. So the business analysis approach, if you don't know what that is, I have taken a video on that and I'll attach the link in the description box. You can have a look at it. Enterprise limitation. Here you would need to check out what are all the challenges that the enterprise or the organization faces and what exists already. The next one is organizational strategy. So every organization would have a set of goals and objectives, and that set of goals and objectives will drive the operations, the processes, and different activities that happen within the organization. So you need to keep in mind the organizational strategy as well. You need to check out what are the different solution limitations. There could be certain challenges with you coming up with a solution, or the existing solution or the solution that is going to come up might face. So that needs to be checked as well. The next one is solution performance goals. So the organization would have a set of goals and objectives. We need to understand what are the goals and objectives, and also we need to identify what is the current performance so that we would be able to set up a baseline as well as a benchmark to achieve it. The next one is the solution performance measures. So you need to understand and identify what are the current metrics, what are the values of those metrics, and based on that you would be able to compare and see whether you have achieved that solution performance goal or not based on whatever baseline you have set. And the last one is stakeholder analysis results. So you also need to constantly keep looking at the stakeholder analysis and the engagement results, and you need to keep evolving so that there is utmost collaboration with all stakeholders to analyze the current state. So when analyzing the current state, there are different factors or different areas in which you need to reflect on in order to get the maximum value out of this particular activity being performed. So these are all the different factors that need to be looked on, and we'll see this now in detail. So the very first one is the business need. So as we all know, business need, they are the problems or opportunities of a strategic importance. Okay, and this business need could come up because of several factors. Okay, for example, it could be a customer complaint, some loss that's happened of revenue, a new market opportunity that the business might look at. So all these are some examples. This is not just limited to these three, but these are just examples of the things that could trigger the evaluation of a business need. And always when you write a business need, the business need is expressed in the perspective of the enterprise, and it's not expressed in the perspective of any stakeholder, something to keep in mind. And also, when you see, often the business need is identified or expressed along with a presumed solution. So the reason why it's identified and expressed with a presumed solution is because when there is a presumed solution, business analysts can start questioning and looking at the different constraints, criteria, assumptions that were made, and start analyzing in detail and also reflecting on the different possibilities and different solutions that would be possible, and come up with the right and valuable solution for the business and stakeholders. That's the reason there is a presumed solution also defined in the business need. And now identifying the business need, it could be through different levels. So the very first one, it could be from a top down approach, which means that there is already a strategic business need in place for which there requires a change to be made. So this strategic business need is usually from the top coming down to the lower levels in the hierarchy. The next one is a bottom up. So let's say, for example, there is some processes that are being run in the business, and in some process there's some gap or something that needs to be changed in order for it to work efficiently. So at that time, the requirement and the need now goes from the bottom to the top. And the next one is middle management. Let's say in the middle management level, someone needs information to make more better business driven or data driven decisions, or there might be a specific function that is required to run the enterprise. So all these could possibly come from the middle management. And the last one is, you have the business needs could come from external drivers. So what are these external drivers? These external drivers could be your competitor, some new competitor in the market, or it could be a new customer coming in. It could be because of a customer complaint, as we've seen over here. It could be based on some industry changes. It could be changes on based on some laws or regulations, policies. All these would contribute to the external drivers that might cause a need for a business change or business need. The next one is organizational structure and culture. So you even need to look at the structure and culture because it's very important, and sometimes the reporting structure sometimes might aid or limit a potential change. So every organization has a structure, right? So this structure sometimes could be a boon or bane, okay? And the beliefs, when we look at the culture, so culture is generally the beliefs, values, the norms, all this that is embedded, that people actually have. So these beliefs generally they drive the actions taken by an organization. So if, let's say, you want to bring about like some frequent feedback and changes, but the organization, the culture is not very open to change, at that time then there is a need for even a cultural change to happen in order to implement certain processes and solutions. So business analysts, they perform a cultural assessment. One is to identify if the cultural changes are needed in order to meet a business need. Next one is to understand whether the stakeholders understand the rationale for the current state, the reason why, what were the logics that were applied, the causes for that current state, as well as you want to check whether the stakeholders view the current state as satisfactory or if a change is needed. So generally sometimes they feel like, oh, why do we need to change? Generally people, if they have a fear of their work, their job being impacted, they will be very resistant to change. or if they feel that they are not well equipped, they don't have the skills, and if something comes into picture, they might be forced to create to put in more effort. I'm not talking about stakeholders, but generally the users who would be affected by the change. So in these scenarios, you would want to check and see whether they feel it's satisfactory or a change is needed. Based on this, you will know the impact and the demand for that particular change. The next one is capabilities and processes. So what are these capabilities and processes? Every organization and business, they have core capabilities and processes that describe the essential functions of the enterprise, and these core processes and capabilities will differentiate the enterprise from the others. Okay, so it's very unique to an enterprise. So when you look into the capabilities and processes, generally business analysts, they use two views. One is a capability view and another one is a process centric view. The capability view of an enterprise can be used when looking for innovative solutions that combine existing capabilities to produce a new outcome. So innovative solutions generally depend on the enterprise's capabilities. Okay, so at that time, you would want to use a capability centric view of the enterprise. Now, if you are looking for ways to improve the performance or effectiveness of processes of certain activities, then you can use a process centric view of the enterprise. So these are ways in which you can look at the capabilities and processes. Next one is technology and infrastructure. So this is very interesting because the technology and infrastructure also, you need to look at it. What are all the different elements and the factors that revolve around the current technology and infrastructure of the enterprise? Okay, these are generally physical components and capabilities that are within an enterprise environment. So for example, if you see right now, if the organization wants to make a change in its technology, or if it needs more capability, sometimes there's a need for adapting to new technologies and infrastructure. So at that time, you need to look into your technology and infrastructure, whether it would support the change and what is the rationale behind having the existing technology and infrastructure. The next one is policies, which is very straightforward. It's the identification of any relevant policies that may shape the scope of the solution space, and it may be a constraint on the types of action that can be pursued. So a policy, it can support a change, or because of a policy, the scope of that change might be constrained and limited. So you need to even look at if there are existing policies. Based on that, you would be able to analyze the current state and what could be the possible solutions as well. The next one is the business architecture. So the existing business architecture for every enterprise, typically it needs a consortment, which is nothing but like a collection of business and stakeholder needs. Put together, you have a business architecture. Okay, so you need to check and see if whatever changes that you're doing, if those needs are not recognized or do not continue to be met by a proposed transition or future state. Let's say you want to make a change, okay? You need to check and see whether that future change is in alignment with the business architecture. If it's not going to be in alignment with the business architecture, then we know that those changes are likely to result in a loss of value. Either you put in so much of time, effort, cost, and resources, and if it's not going to be aligned, it's a waste. Okay? So that's why there is a loss of value. The next one is internal assets. So you would want to look at resources that can be tangible or intangible. So for example, it could be financial resources, patents, reputations, the brand names of the organization. Everything you would want to look at the internal assets as well. The next one is external influencers. So till now, what factors we've seen, it's all internal to an enterprise. So when you are dealing with a change, it's not only important that you look at the internal factors that are going to be involved in that change, but also the external influences. So the sources of external influence, it could include industry structure. So let's say that the enterprise wants to go into a different new industry. So the industry would have a set of structures and standards and policies and stuff like that. So even that could be one of an influence to create a new business need. The next one is competitors. Oh my, this is like again another huge influencer. Suddenly a competitor comes with something new, they have a new process or they have this new feature or product, and then there is a frenzy. Everyone gets into a frenzy, and even businesses are forced to keep up now with that competitor because now they set a benchmark. The next one is customers. Customers can also now be influencers, okay, for a business need. Now, with the trend of generative AI and so much of AI tools having so much of AI, customers also want more. So, businesses equally have to adapt and keep up to their expectations where there could be a business need getting created. The next one is suppliers. As much as customers are going to influence, even an enterprise suppliers are also going to influence the business need. And then the next one is political and regulatory environments. So sometimes there could be a change in law, regulations, policies, rules, etc. All this could also influence the enterprise and create a business need. The next one is technology. So as I said, right now in the current trend that we are in, there's so much of disruptive technology. Generative AI is very disruptive. Okay, and everyone have to keep up with. Right now they are forced like to keep up or even understand what this technology is about. So this again is creating a lot of business needs in many organizations. And last one is macroeconomic factors. So this could probably be like recessions, it could be trades, it could be unemployments, it could be pandemics. All these are macroeconomic factors that could also create a business need and also influence an enterprise. So these are some of the external factors that would influence an enterprise and create a business need, but there are many more. So whenever you're doing a as is state analysis or the current state analysis, keep these things in mind, try to explore all these different areas, and I hope that this was informative to you. So if you liked this video, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe to this channel, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.